All right, well, I'm just keep it short. My name is Briante Young. I'm from West Oakland. Seen many different changes that occurred in Oakland within the last 22 years of me being there. I attend the Academy of Arts University. I'm a student. I do work study. I also model. And so, I just kind of want to see what you guys think about, the intergenerational relationships between the youth and the elders, because I kind of feel like it's not enough. And I feel like, I think personally, me as a young adult should hold myself more accountable, as well as you guys hold me accountable to what it is that I'm doing and what it is that I'm presenting to the youth, as well as coming back and communicating with the elders about what it is that we need to bring together. So that's just my 2 cents. I'm a student. I'm from West Oakland.
We'd like the panel to introduce themselves first, one by one, and then we'll pose the first question to you for comment on.
My name is Trey Gray, and I go to American Indian Middle School. I'm 14 years old, and I'm here just to give my opinions on technology, elders, and their relationship with younger people. So.
Greetings, my name is Falila Aisha Bilal, and I'm here with the Oakland Bay Area Cares Mentoring Circle. I am a Bay Area community member. I'm also a mom. My children are here. And by trade, I'm a drama therapist. And so I'm here to really think about the way in which we communicate with each other. How do we hold our relationships as sacred? And how is that a mutual process between and across generations?
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Alexander. I'm the founding chairman of 100 Black Men of the Bay Area Community School. I am very interested in finding ways, strategies to bring our community together to best serve the needs of all of our people, particularly our children.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Ray Mitchell. I am the CEO and founder of the Girls Rock Global Leadership Program. We are a program that exists to invest in the development of girls as global leaders. I'm here today because I'm concerned with how to contribute to a conversation for the orderly transfer of knowledge from our generation to the next generation of leaders.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kyla Wheatfall. I am an intern at the Bay Area Urban Debate League. I am 20 years old, Oakland native. Basically, my organization is to bring youth together to empower their voices. As such, we have a divide, whereas the student is often the one that has to shut up versus the adult is the one that's always talking, where it's completely the opposite. Sometimes the adults have to listen to the children because we have a lot to say, especially in this day and age. So I hope you guys enjoy the panel.
All right, so we'll start off with the first question. The first question is, how do we build/improve intergenerational relationships to positively impact the overall quality of life in our families and communities? So I'd like to open that up.
I feel that we can improve our lifestyle by bringing us together, bring the elder people and the younger people together, and that will help by us learning their view on life and how they see it and what we're doing wrong, and we can understand where they're coming from when they're trying to talk to us, and we can give the elder people what our views are and how we see life and why we do the things that we do, and once we get that balance, we can have a mental mindset that gives us a way to connect easier with each other and our parents and everyone, younger people from 5 to all the way to 76, 90. And thank you.
The question is, how do we build/improve intergenerational relationships to positively impact the overall quality of life in our families and communities?
I think that's a really good question, and I think that first of all, before we can answer that question, we need to look at what is hindering our communications. So off top, I'm 40, and I think it's important to say that because a lot of folks view me as a lot younger than I am, and so I tend to be in communities of younger folks having these kind of conversations. What is standing in the way of us communicating, right? So what is happening in that process? Whether it's, oh, okay. So my initial answer is in regards to what is standing in the way of us having certain conversations. What is stopping or hindering those conversations from happening? And so first and foremost, I think that folks need to, and this is more for the 40 and over, we need to be genuine and authentic with what our intention is. If our intention is to teach, then we need to be clear that that is the perspective from which we are coming. Because young people have a brilliant ability to actually see the real. So young people are gonna call you on your stuff. So I think first and foremost, we have to begin to examine what's standing in the way of us being able to have healthy, sincere, and impactful communications. And we have to step outside of the normal space for those conversations. So there happen to be times where I'll be driving down the street and I'll see some young people having a conflict, talking. I will stop my car. I'm doing it less and less when I'm with my own children, but I will stop my car and just begin to talk with them. I will dialogue with them where they are at. So I think part of the reason why I've been successful in that is because they can feel my heart energy off top. Even if what I'm saying is, you know, why are you eating McDonald's? What's going on with your hair? I like the colors, but, you know, is there another way where you can present yourself? So we have to look at first what's standing in the way of the conversations and begin to be really honest about that. Because once you create a dynamic where you are honestly talking with someone, you can communicate anything. But it's in that relationship. We have to stop being so judgmental and so set in our own perspective that from the beginning hinders the conversation. Again, I'm a therapist, so I thrive on meaningful, respectful, close, and intimate conversations. Not everyone necessarily has the skill to do that, but if we look at what's standing in the way, then we can begin to actually experience what might work.
A question for you, sister.
Yes.
Why are we afraid of our young people? Why? And I'm making an assumption. I hear that we're afraid of our young people. Is that true? If so, why? We meaning my age, over 40.
Right. Well, I don't think it's true that we're scared of our young people. I think that when you have lived a certain time period, you get very comfortable in your privilege of being that age. And so what happens is you don't want to have those authentic conversations with young people about your own personal stories where you were confused or maybe you might have made a wrong decision. And so I find when I sit in healing circles, I sit in a community of women and we're constantly in healing circles. One of the most powerful things that young females reflect back to us is the fact that we tell them about our lives. And we don't just tell them what's the right thing to do. We tell them about our bad choices. We sit in community with them about the places within ourselves that happen to be maybe, you know what I mean, not so perfect. So I don't know if we're scared of our young people. I think that a lot of us as adults have stuffed our own stuff down and we're afraid to even speak that truth because we're afraid of folks not looking at us as this leader or as this adult, this persona that we want to represent. I think that when you begin to examine places within yourself that cause anxiety, fear, then you'll be able to actually connect better because you're not operating from that place. I also think that when we're looking at the psychological impact of slavery and a slave culture and mentality, that work is on a continuum. So it doesn't stop. So we're getting messages about who we are and who our young people are that infiltrate our consciousness, and then we begin to have this fear. And we think, well, I got that down because I'm such and such, and I got this degree, and I learned this, and I was part of this movement. But we have to constantly work on our own internal psychological process and how we fear or don't fear the babies that we produce.
Brother Mark, I need you to speak as loud as you can because folk in the back can't hear. So just
Okay.
shout it out.
All right. I'd like to build on some of the things that Trey and Aisha said, but first I'd like to disagree a little bit with Aisha's assessment. I do think that a lot of people in my generation are afraid of our children, and to me that's a sign of a declining civilization. I work for an organization, I work with an organization that mentors young people. And we have a range of mentoring programs and educational programs designed for African American children. And I've gone out into the community and I've asked men my age to come and work with us for our youth movement program at McClymonds High School or at Castlemont. And they'll flat out say, I'm afraid to go in those neighborhoods. And I just scratched my head. I said, what? We have a significant number of our people who are afraid of our children. And we know that the media has demonized our children.
Yeah.
We know that the media has vilified our children. And many of us, unfortunately, are buying into that. And we're starting to believe it. And we're perpetuating this so that there's a breakdown in communication where older folks will not respect the values or the culture of younger people, and vice versa. A lot of the young men that I talk to call me Brother Civil Rights because they see me as someone who comes from the Civil Rights era, and they don't understand that because we haven't effectively taught them about their history. So I think there is this gap that we have to really work hard to close. And the only way we're going to do that is to take it upon ourselves to educate our children. I'm a cardiovascular epidemiologist by training. And I took an early retirement 5 years ago because I saw the tremendous need that we have for children. I came to this work through health care. I've seen data that shows that our children are on a trajectory to die from heart disease and stroke by the time they're in their late 20s and 30s if we don't do something about it. We have this phenomenon of premature aging going on because of the foods that our children are eating, because of the things that they're watching on television that's corrupting their character, because of the fact that they're not getting any exercise, there are no structured fitness programs, playgrounds are locked to our children. We are effectively killing our children. And we're doing that by just standing by and not doing anything. So we all have a role in this breakdown, in this intergenerational breakdown in communication, and we've got to end it.
I became involved in working with the new generation through a number of different channels. My take on the subject matter about where the gap exists and why it exists is there are three parts in my thinking in the work that we do. Number one, I'm not sure that there is a clear communication of shared values. When you talk about communication and cooperation and engagement, it works when there's some shared values. And what has fallen through the cracks between a current generation and the generation coming up is we're not sharing our values. There is a difference, for example, in my generation towards marriage than the current generation. And when we don't have a shared value system, we then impose judgments. And when we impose the judgments, we then square off based on our judgments. So for me, correcting the generational divide starts with some fundamentals. We need to identify what cultural values we want to connect to. And not everybody will buy into the same set of cultural values, which is okay. Secondly, we need to create, back to my concept, an orderly exchange of information. For example, it is very exciting to see a young person articulate on this panel. We don't have to have a panel of my generation talking to your audience. This conversation cannot go forward unless we have an engagement of both generations. And I would take it even further. Every time we do something, not sometimes, every time we do something, we need to make sure that each one takes one. It's a phrase we use, we pat ourselves on the back, but how often do we actually execute that concept? We just came from some other panels. We need more young people on those panels. And the concept is not dissimilar to a relay race. And the Americans, and African Americans, stand out well in race and track and field. And in the four-way relay, we win or we lose based on the strength of the 4 legs run. And we all know, not in this last Olympics, but the Olympics prior, both the women's team and the men's team fell out of competition. Why? Because they did not pass the baton. And so metaphorically, if we do not engage in a way for my generation as the first runner to run ahead and be ready to pass the baton to the next generation, you're going to get what we have, which is a dropping of the baton. And the dropping of the baton becomes measured in violence, teen pregnancy, dropout rates, incarceration. Every ill that we've talked about today represents a failure to connect generation to generation. So if we want to correct our system, we ought to decide how to get into alignment on shared values, and then how do we begin a process of bringing one generation tag teaming with the next. And systematically it starts with everybody in this room should be linked to a young person that is not simply your own child. We have a global connectivity here that's missing. And until we connect with one young person who is charged with connecting with another young person, because we're ruling out peer-to-peer here, we are going to forever have this gap, and we're going to forever have this conversation.
What ideas might you have about the
Speak up.
I'm asking, what ideas might you have about the identifying cultural values that we might want to have for our children and for our community? What are some of those values that come to mind?
I am working on a program which will come to fruition, but speaking separate from my work, I believe that this conference is a good conference. But I'm going to be critical of it, because we need to have every person in here under 30, under 40, under 20 leading a segment and a panel where they identify 2 things. One, what will they bring to us as a community? And I don't mean Oakland, I don't mean California, I don't mean the United States. I mean a global community. What will they pick up as their charter of this new millennium? Secondly, what do they need from us to carry forward with their vision? Flipping it around, we should then be prepared. What will we give to this new generation to create a legacy relationship? So I suggest, as a practical outcome from this conference, not only should there be making connections, there should be a concrete, forward, youth-led conversation where the youth organize it, the youth invite the guests, and the youth set the agenda and be accountable for it. That's an action step that can happen.
I just kind of want to piggyback off of what she said, because personally, for me, living this life, I kind of wish that I was born in you guys' decade. Like, I wish I was back there with you guys, like, you know, because I was raised with an old soul. And so, you know, the one thing that I will say is that I want to see you elders standing in your authority again. You know what I'm saying? Because while they're looking at me, the youth, I'm looking at y'all. You know what I'm saying? I don't want y'all to be scared of me. I don't want y'all to judge me like, you know what I'm saying, tattoos, piercings, this, that, and so forth. I'm an artist. I'm a spirit first. You know what I'm saying? And so y'all look at my heart. You know what I'm saying? Because we all living in a physical body. But like I was telling a friend of mine, I was like, you know, if I walk up to this lady or I walk up to this young kid right here, we're all doors. And so when you standing next to a person and they open that door, it's like they show you what's inside of them. And I'm a firm believer that the way that you guys think, the way that you guys speak is tied to your heart. You know what I'm saying? So you guys got to hold yourselves accountable to what it is that you guys do. And it starts with me personally. I'm a firm believer that I have to be those things that I want around me. I have to be those things that I want to see happen around me. And so in order to produce change, I have to be that change for myself. You know what I'm saying? And so I definitely applaud Trey, because I look at this little dude and I'm like, yo, like when I was his age, I wasn't even thinking like this. You know what I'm saying? So it's amazing to see this little kid right here, well, young man, I should say, this young man stand up here and talk to you guys about what it is that he would like to see from you guys and what it is that he wants to bring into this legacy. And so I think that the legacy starts now. It's just a matter of, do you guys believe it? So that's all I'm gonna say.
Based upon the question, my household, I was raised by my grandmothers, and I was fortunate enough to have both of them, my grandmother and my great-grandmother. So my upbringing was totally different from somebody else who had their mom and their dad because of the generation gap. They were raised a certain way. Their values were different. And it's because of me being raised that way, I am the person I am today. I'm strong. I don't have to need for anything really, because I was fed everything that I could from their wisdom. And so by having that versus my mom and my dad who were on drugs, who were in jail, who had no part in my life, they look at me now and then they can't really say anything but just like, wow, like this young person's up here and she's doing the things that she wants. My father passed away back in 2001 when I was 9.5, 10 years old. I did not really know him. My mother was on drugs until I was about 19. She's now off of drugs, has custody of my little sister, and doing what she needs to do. I tell her every day I'm proud of her. So because of her life and what she did, I'm able to use that to my advantage and be able to talk about anything that I want with anybody. I can go into a room with elders, with young people, with city councilors, with lawyers, and have a full-on conversation with them because I am not afraid. And I feel like that's what my generation is. My generation is afraid to speak up, and I feel like the elders and the people who are not so old, they are afraid to talk to the youth because of what they see. They see us being changed by the media, by the newspaper. Like my little brother sees me in the newspaper and he's like, wow, you're doing big things? Like what the heck? I, being 20 years old, should be pregnant. According to standards, according what America says about me, I should be pregnant. I should be on Section 8. I should be a baby mama in the streets of Oakland. But I refuse to do that because of the fact of how I was raised and what my values are. You have to be able to look inside yourself and see what values you have. As older people, you want to be able to tell your child, don't do these things. Be able to change. Be the change. Young Trey is a middle schooler. He is in middle school talking to older people. And I have to agree with Briante. At his age, I wasn't going to talk about things like this. I was too worried about what everybody else was thinking about me. But I had to change my thinking. And that's what people don't see. They don't change their thinking. They look at the media and say, okay, well, all black boys, they supposed to die at 18, so I guess my son finna die. Like, no. My brother made it past 18. And it wasn't because of my mother, but it was because of me. Because I'm the oldest. I was able to go out there and talk. So even though we're just a year apart, it's because of the wisdom that I get from everybody in this room. The panels from like 2 hours ago, from Congresswoman Barbara Lee, from Bobby Seale, from their legacy. It's the wisdom that I get. So if you're not able to go up there and speak out, open your voice. We need somebody who's going to be able to say why. Why are our young boys dying? Why can't we talk to our elders? Why can't we go to the streets of Oakland and walk around and say, why are you doing this, young brother? Why are you prostituting yourself, young sister? I'm not afraid to do it. Nobody should be afraid to do it, but it's because of the fact that we are stigmatized and people are desensitized by things of the media and of culture. That's where we lose our grip. That's where we lose our communication. It's not fair, but the world's not fair. So how can we change it? Look inside yourself and see how you can change something. Even just down the street. We're at Laney College. If you go down the street towards East 14th, what are you gonna see? Pimps, prostitutes, and drive-by shootings. I live in Seminary. They call it Sim City. They call it Cemetery Street. I live on Seminary. I am not afraid to walk down my street. Yes, there is a point in time where I could be shot. There's a point in time where I could be robbed, mugged, put up on the street, but I refuse to walk around my street and play victim. I'm not gonna play the victim. Nobody should play the victim. You should be able to go up to police officers and have a conversation with them. Tell them what you want in your neighborhood. Tell them that we want our elders to come up and have these talks. Have student-led panels. Be able to have a group of kids. You have to train those kids. Because kids can go up there and talk out their butt all day. I can sit up here and tell you a whole bunch of words and, you know, spit a little poetry, some Tupac and everything, but you're not going to understand because of the generation gap. So if I'm able to come to you at the forefront and be upfront with you and have a reasonable, honest, and sincere conversation like Miss Aisha was talking about, that's the best thing I can do. Thank you.
I kind of want to come to you guys as like a door again, like give you that illustration again. For me, when it comes to elders, I think that the one thing that I would like to see from you guys as well is to be able to let that inner child out. You know what I'm saying? Because you guys feel, you be like, oh, I'm old, I can't do this, I can't do that. I don't look at you guys like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's something more than just the physical body. It's something in us that wants this remedy, this cure, this positive change, this sense of freedom and to care about, you know, one another. And so the thing that I want to see from the elders is, like I said before, to step in you guys' authority, but to also let that inner child out. Because when it comes to Trey or when it comes to me, like I'm still young, I have this sense of like this inner joy that I want to just like release. I'm an artist, I'm, you know, emotional on all these things. And so I think one of the best things to see from the elders is to let that inner child out and to see you guys interact with us more and to see you guys get involved in the things that we do and to encourage us. You know, that's one of the things that I deal with in my household. Just long story short, you know, it's just not enough godly flow. It's not enough positive energy in there. And so I just have to, you know, every day when I go outside, I'm from West Oakland, California. I live on 9th and Wood. And half the people I grew up with is dead. Half of them dead. And so I'm tired of seeing that, and I'm living in the same neighborhood that they were, seeing them go to jail. My sister is in prison for 7 years for some stuff, some unnecessary stuff. And, you know, I'm just seeing everything around Oakland tear apart. Yet I'm here. And I believe it's by the grace of God that I'm here right here talking to you guys right now, because I could have been that same person. I could have been that same person, but I'm just saying this to say that it's so much power in your words. Watch what you say. It's so much power in the way you think. Watch what you think. And it's so much power in what you do. So choose faith and live by life and make a different decision, because I was living in the same product of that environment as they did, and I made a different decision. And this is where I'm at. I'm talking here to you guys right now. I didn't expect none of this. You know what I'm saying? So I would definitely like to see the inner child come out of everybody. The inner child. Let that out. Let that freedom out. Let that voice inside of you that's speaking to you, don't deny it. If I'm hearing something inside of me tell me to give this lady some money or to give him some food, why deny it? It's an intuition. Why disobey that? You know what I'm saying? Because oftentimes when I second guess and I should have went with my first mind was telling me something right? So I try to get in the habit of hearing the voice of God speak in my life. I can care less about what people think about me. I'm in progress. I'm a work in progress. I'm gonna continue to change, and I'm gonna continue to live in that. And I'm gonna be confident in that. And the fact that I'm very much scared to speak on that in front of y'all, I'm gonna do it anyway. And I believe that that's more strength in doing that. It's more strength in doing something that you're scared of, because what my weakness is, God shows me to be stronger in my life. And so I feel like for whatever reason you guys needed to hear that. And I'm here today to I guess, minister to y'all, and at the same time come at you guys to not necessarily just mentor, but to be a living witness, to be an example in living in that way. You know what I'm saying? And so I just think that it's good that we're having this right now, because it's a work in progress to see and promote change Another thing that I do is that in the morning I wake up in the mirror not to be a narcissistic person, but to look at myself and remind myself of who I am. I'm a spirit first and I live in a body. I'm a spirit first and I live in a body. So whatever choices you guys make, you show what's in the abundance of y'all hearts. When y'all say certain things, y'all show what's in y'all heart. And I tell you, and I'm a firm believer when I listen to a person talk, you get to know, you really get the chance to know a person when you hear them speak. When you hear a person talk, you get the chance to really hear who they are. And so, you heard what I said, and y'all make that judgment based on that.
And so, Brother Beyonce, I'm like 71 years old, and like I've lost my inner child. So help me understand what my inner child is.
All right, that inner child is being able to let that inner child. Oh man, the best way that I can explain it is I look at my little nephew, and I don't have a son, but my nephew is like me growing up all over again. And so you imagine this kid that's coming out of the existence of the spirit realm into a physical body, and he's up here just curious as I don't know what, want to know everything, want to learn everything, want to dabble in everything. And so when I look at him and I observe him, I try to hold myself accountable to not getting frustrated with him because he's doing stuff that I'm like, I don't like this, I want you to stop. But he's doing things because he's curious, because he doesn't know. So letting that inner child out is being able to express this freedom that we once had. And it seems like as we get older and we start to operate in this world, this dimension that's telling us what we are and who we are, we tend to forget those things. We tend to forget where we came from. We tend to forget what we're about, what our true essence of our nature is. And I think that religion tells you one thing, you got to look this way to do this, but when you have a relationship with God, it's the inner being that shows, like, it's something that's working on the inside to show you something on the outside. And so it's way more deeper than that, and I believe letting that inner child out is being able to find out what it is that you were once on fire with, or on fire about, and then channeling that, and then influencing the world. Because it's one thing if I'm standing like this, it's another thing if I'm standing with my chest out in confidence telling you guys I love all y'all. It's something totally different about that, you know what I'm saying? And I look at a lot of people today, like, we so hooked on electronics, listening to our music, our iPods, and I've seen myself walk past like 15 people and not even speaking to them. Why don't we speak to each other? Why when I look at you guys, like, you know what I'm saying, 9 times out of 10, like, you guys sitting here right now, but in a normal conversation, I will sometimes look at a person like, they'll say something like the eyes are the windows to the soul. We can't even look at each other when we talk. Why not?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I need to find out, we need to definitely get back to where we once were and definitely find that and stick and hold on to that, because that was good and whatever's going on today is a mess. And so, make a choice.
I wanted to comment on the earlier conversation about why we don't talk to our elders, or why don't we talk to our youth. I feel that elders don't talk to their youth because they're afraid of what they might hear. And the youth don't talk to the elders because I'm sometimes like this, they're just ignorant and they don't want to hear what the elders have to say. And when we're talking to our elders, we talk to them like we're crazy. Like we're just talking to them any sort of way. And I think that the elders need to reassert themselves as like a dominant person. We are a person. Like in slavery, the white just treated them however they wanted. I'm not saying that it's still the same, but I'm seeing that it's like slavery when we bottle up our feelings and not talk about how we feel about something that's going on in our society and how our community is. Once we get everything off the table, and we talk about everything we need to talk to, we can make a step forward to what we're trying to get to: better jobs, better grades, decreasing the dropout rates, and we can like me being a child, and my mom, she's been helping me out. She has given me a chance to be on my own and do my own thing. And some adults are afraid afraid of letting their children do that. And you shouldn't be afraid of that. You should let them be on their own sometimes. Because if you bottle them up, they're gonna just be like, oh, I give up. I don't want to do this anymore. And if that happens, then you've lost another black child, white child, Hispanic child, Asian child, any kind of child. And you have to do that early. You have to let them do that early on in their lives. I'm glad because my mom, she set an example for me, and and her grandmother, who worked hard and all the time to make her life better, set an example for her. So it's all about example that we set for each other. If we set an example for each other, then we can not have the violence that we see every day. Like, I don't get why when we have the violence, like, where did it come from? Do their parents fight, or do they just see it all the time and no one's doing anything about it? People need to take action. There's a difference between a passive person and an active person. And an active person will make a difference in life, and a passive person will let life just pass them by. That's why they call people carpetbaggers in in the West, carpetbaggers. I don't want to be called a carpetbagger. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to be called that. So I'm trying to be active, going on the youth commission, stuff like that, so we can make a better change in the community. And by you guys being active, by all of us becoming active, then we can change the whole entire world. 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 16, 16 to 32. If we just start like that, then the whole world will be changed. Thank you.
I'm going to ask you to include in your answer this question that I'm about to state. So it's often more said than is done. So I want to pose a question to the panel. I want you to give examples on how your organization successfully utilized intergenerational relationships in your work. So how do you use the intergenerational opportunities in the work that you do, and give some good examples? And first of all, I want to say, our youth are just genius. If we allow them to be, if we work with them, share with them, they do and say incredible things. And I just want to celebrate our young people. I'm sorry. And
well, I have to, oh, thank you for that. I have to endorse the congratulations. But I want to make a point. We should not be in awe that these two gentlemen are articulate, speaking up. So we have to re-examine why, on the one hand, we should feel that what he's doing today is phenomenal, because it is. But then we have to step back and say, this young man represents a lot of young men who are not heard from. So I'm going to answer your question, which is the reason I came up, is on the panel today, Elaine Brown made a number of profound comments, but her comment was, go get that money. And I'm going to make that point relevant to every person in here under 40. Go get your legacy. I can't find you, but you can find me. So I want to shift the conversation from talking about what we as elders haven't done for you, and I'm going to put the bag of accountability and responsibility back on you. You come find me. And if I don't come and help you, she will, or he will, or they will. But you have to go get your money, meaning your legacy. More people will help you than not. More people will give you a chance than not. And if this one doesn't, the next one will. So I can go to every young person I see and say, I'm available, I'm a mentor, I'm a resource, and they're playing on their iPhone. Or if a young person comes to me and says, Dr. Mitchell, this young lady here, what's your name? Nicole. Before I got in the room and put down my bag, she said, I read about Girls Rock program. I'm new to the Bay Area. I'm not working. I want to know how I can be of value to the organization. She walked up to me. I would not have known anything about her if she didn't come get her experience. So my advice to every young person on this intergenerational conversation, if you do not speak up, you will not receive. And counter generations and other cultures, those kids are stepping up. So while you may think it's cool to want to be cool, and I'm not judging whether you're rapping or flowing, other young people your same age are creating apps. Other kids your age are using the internet not strictly as an entertainment tool, but as a promotional tool, so that that internship that they'll need 3 years from now, somebody will find that they have a skill and capability. We have to ratchet up our young people to go get their legacy, as opposed to complaining about what our generation is not doing. So that's my advice. And the last piece is, a conference like this is of no value to a young person if they don't know how to work a room. So somewhere along the line, the next time we do Making Connections, God willing, there should be a pre-conference, whether it's an hour before, where the young people are told how to work this. They should come with business cards. They should come with a purpose. They should come with a conversation they will have with any panel person. But instead they come, they're given all this information, and then they leave. But they need the information while they're here. So action steps are preparation to be prepared. Those are my comments on creating specific agenda. And that's what we do at our program. It's not good to go to a conference to learn. You got to go to the conference to work it. And our young people need to know how to work this room. They need to know how to work this mentor. And that's the gap that's not being filled.
The 100 Black Men of the Bay Area have a program called the Collegiate 100, where we get younger men that are at UC Berkeley. We're starting a program at Contra Costa College for the young brothers in Richmond, and we'd like to do it here at Laney, where we teach them how to mentor our high school students. And our high school students mentor our elementary school students. And at our school, our sixth graders mentor our first graders and our kindergartners. So a positive message can reach some kids. It might be difficult for a high schooler to follow the advice of somebody my age, but when it's someone closer to their age, the communication is a lot easier. So that's one particular strategy that we use to involve various age groups. But I'd like to comment on something that Brother Trey said. He really resonated with me. It's clear that this young brother has experienced a good deal of independence. It's allowed him to grow and expand his mind. But I've reared 5 boys in the 70s and in the 80s. My baby boy is 27 years old. And what he said really, really touched me, because my youngest son and I used to struggle a lot because I wasn't giving him that type of freedom and independence that might have been very, very beneficial to him. But the reason I had problems with that is that our children, particularly our boys, have targets on their backs, whether you know it or not. There are things that little white boys can do that our boys just absolutely cannot do. And so in order to save them and to keep them out of the prisons and out of the graves, we tend to hold on to them a little bit. And I hear from your words how detrimental that can be. So that's going to be a challenge that we have to address at some point. How do we give our children the latitude that they need to explore and discover independently while being safe at the same time?
So I wanted to address the question just briefly around what your organization is doing to create these intergenerational dialogues. With the Oakland Bay Area Cares mentoring movement, we asked the question as to why aren't black folks mentoring? Like, what's going on with us and why aren't we mentoring our kids? And what we found, which a lot of us already know, is that the majority, some of us, not all of us, the majority of us have so much of our own stuff going on that stands in the way of us being able to effectively mentor and be present with our young people. So we begin to coordinate wellness circles where, you know, they are gender specific. So the brothers come together with the brothers, the sisters come together with the sisters, and we just began to talk and to have dialogue. And it was that kind of very ancient practice that we engaged in that we think will contribute to black folks on the national space being able to mentor kids. I also wanted to just back up a little bit and think about this question when we're thinking about the segment of our population that probably isn't represented at this conference, right? One of the things that I feel, not to attack the older generation at all, because I do agree, Dr. Mitchell, that it's about a two-way street, but I think it's very important that we recognize the amount of trauma and the amount of pain that we are all walking in or with, and begin to be more intentional about our healing individually and collectively, because that's what I see standing in the way of even the conversation. That's what's standing in the way of somebody feeling confident to walk into a room and work the room. It's not just a skill set. That's one piece of it, but it's also about this internal barometer that a lot of us are dealing with that says, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I can't do that. I can't go and speak to this person, I don't feel confident. And so how do we then begin to, and for some of us, continue to really, really be loved so that we can internalize that feeling and it can take us broader. I really appreciate, Mr. Young, when you talked about the element of spirit. And so I think that we have to, when we have these conversations, particularly as black folks, we have to remember our African practices. And from my experience, and it's limited, I don't stand here as any expert, but being a child of the Black Power movement and my father being the scholar that he was, and my mother being the woman and scholar that she is, I was always taught to respect my elders first. So this idea that just because I'm young, I have something to bring, simply because I'm young, wasn't something that was ingrained in my consciousness. It was more about the elders actually have something to bring, and that was my foundation. But I think it's a new age, right? So we have to be able to incorporate the old and combine it with what's happening currently. Currently, our young people are hurting. Our older people are hurting, but our youth are hurting. And I get calls a lot from folks that I've worked with through organizations, and they'll say things to me that I don't really hold as mine. They'll say stuff like, Aisha, my friend just had her third baby daddy. All three of her relationships, she's been getting abused, and she's so depressed, she's considering suicide. Would you go talk to her? Because when you talk to me, you like saved my life. Now for me, that's a flooring comment for someone to actually say to me, because I don't walk in that energy. And I recognize that that's really not me. It's a bigger spiritual energy that is coming through me that they see and they receive. But when I get that call, can you go to her house and sit with her? She has a 1-month-old baby. I have to show up there. I have to be present for that love that this person is saying I showed to them. And so I think that we sit in these conferences, I go to these events, and I think they're amazing and they're powerful. But I think we should always recognize that if we're looking to tap into the segment of our population that is real, right? That will walk into this conference smelling of weed, that will walk into this conference pissed off, that will walk into this conference, I'm not gonna look you in your face, right? Then we have to shift a little bit, not our expectation, but we have to shift a little bit our heart energy to open up a space. Because when I come to these things, I see the same people here. And I'm still alive. I live in Oakland, and there is violence, but I'm here. I'm similar to Sister Kayla. where I'm not afraid, right? So that was why I responded like that, because I don't feel this sense of fear. What I do feel is this sense of pain. And I feel this sense of disconnect that would even stop a person coming to a conference like this. So I think if we vibrate our heart energy a lot bigger and broader, we will begin to wrap our arms around first ourselves and then our young people in more of a profound way. And I'm not attacking this process at all, but I am saying that I think we have to broaden our scope and broaden our energy on a heart level, because a lot of us are deeply hurting. And when we are honest about that, that's where, for me, the intergenerational connection makes. When I walked into this young person's house and I said to her, I know what it feels like to want to commit suicide, because I felt like that myself. I felt overwhelmed like that. She was like, what? And then we really could talk. So that's it, sorry.
I think just kind of like a short comment to add on top of what she just said. I think one of the questions that I would like to ask to you guys is like, do you love who you are? Another question that I want to ask you guys is, how often do you go about your day thinking about somebody else and not yourself? And then the last question that I want to ask is, how much do you think about doing something for somebody without even thinking about what's going to come out for you? So, you know, and not to say anything, but, you know, oftentimes a lot of the people that do those things don't brag about it. They don't even speak about it. They, you know, the ones that's really suffering in a prosperous way, but suffering to think about somebody else and not themselves, to go out and do something for somebody else, those are the people that don't complain. They don't complain at all, because the reward for them is that they help somebody else prosper in life, which is more rich than having money. They got the chance to speak to somebody. They got the chance to interact with another being that's of the same species, to go and connect with this person and vibe with this person without any intent or motive in their heart to get any type of result out of it. And so my question to everybody is like, where are you guys' hearts at? You know, because we all are a living, breathing soul with a heart that beats every day. You know what I'm saying? And so this man right here is very, very much older than I am. He done seen a lot more than I've seen. Truth be told, I can learn a lot and get a lot of wisdom from this guy. I'm looking forward to reconnecting with him. I know this guy, Arnold Perkins. I've known him from Positive Mind Groups with Brother Bayon and Brother Moontu, PMG. I've done all that. So I kind of got a little history with this guy. So be patient with me, but you know, I got a ton of wisdom that I can get from this guy. And so, you know, like at the end of it all, I just want everybody to leave here with their spirits lifted up, with a whole different flow of energy around here. And I believe that the voice itself can bring forth that change, because you have to confess those things and you have to believe in your heart too, you know. And so I don't want to leave this place looking at you guys like I don't know nobody. I want to look at you guys as like we're all family. I might not all know all you guys' names, but we're family. And so I don't want to go thinking about myself. I don't come up here to speak about me under my own authority, or speak on my own knowledge or any of those things. I want to come up here and talk because I'm honestly nervous about this. Like, I'm honestly nervous to talk about this. And so I want to come and not be about myself, and I want to be that living example to show you guys to how to not be about self, but how to be about others and actually walking in that, because it truly is a great joy, and it truly is this energy and this positive fulfillment and this joy that I get within myself when I'm thinking about what I can do for you guys versus myself, because I'm blessed regardless. You know what I'm saying? I might not see those physical manifestations as of yet, but I believe it in my heart that I'm blessed. I believe it in my heart when I speak to you guys that is resonating in some of you guys' hearts, that you guys are going to leave this place knowing way more than you ever known, that you got the chance to hear from Trey, this young fellow right here that just speaking a multitude of just like good positive energy about how you want to see the difference and the growth between the generation of the youth and the generation of the old. And so I'm very much excited, I'm nervous, I'm happy, I'm emotional, I'm feeling all these different types of things. And I just want you guys to know that I love you guys. I don't know you from another doorknob, so but I enjoy you guys' spirit, and I enjoy all of you guys. And so I just want to just kind of shed some light on being able to have you guys think about that when you guys leave here. Is where you guys' heart's at. Are you thinking about you, or are you thinking about somebody else? And if so, where you stand? And that's me.
So we can, any comments from either the two of you? And then we want to open it briefly for questions that folk might, or comments that folk might have.
So, being a product of Oakland, just seeing how Oakland's changed like in the last 10 years, and also seeing, you know, the youth-wise, how youth have changed, because technology's changed in the past 10 years. Like, I never thought we would have iPads or iPhones that we could talk to, or the internet you can just like pull up at a drop of a hat. So in my organization, it's based on using your voice and being able to use that voice in a positive way where you can make that change. And I started debate in my junior year of high school, not to mention, like freshman, sophomore year, I was like the bad child. I used to cut class and I used to just, you know, talk and do whatever. But it wasn't until I got into debate that I was able to channel all that energy into something very positive. I was able to talk about things that have impacted us, like poverty, and how when you go to like different neighborhoods, why they look that way. If you ever just take a bus ride, if you get on the 1R and you go from San Leandro, well, Hayward, San Leandro, and Oakland, all the way to downtown Oakland to over here where we at, it's completely different each block. You don't see the same thing. Okay, you maybe for like 3-4 blocks you may see something the same, but once you pass that, street signs look different, people look different, cars look different, houses, everything looks different. So, you know, just being a part of debate and to bring it back to the question, I'm able to have those conversations with my mentors that are way older than me. I'm able to talk to the lawyers who have had years of experience, years of training, education-wise. People of different educational levels, backgrounds, anybody. And being able to have that wisdom brought to me, and so that like, I can share with my kids. Like, I mentor Carson High School, where a lot of people are afraid to go to. Like how Mark, what's your name again? Sorry, I forgot. Mark Alexander, like how he was talking about how he would go to his people his age and they would be afraid to go to McClymonds. They would be afraid to go to Castlemont. Like, why are you afraid to go to those schools when you were probably born in those areas? But it's because of the time change and how things were different. Because when my grandmother went back in high school, Castlemont was it. It wasn't a bad school. You don't hear about shootings. I was up there 2 weeks ago because I do debate practice up there, and I see my kids running to go see a fight. And I'm like, wait a minute, debate practice is this way. Where you going? No, I'm going to go see this fight. I'm going to see this boy get da-da-da-da. And it's because of a young man grieving. And he expressed his grief to one of the other boys where those 3 kids down there in Bakersfield got into that car accident. Oh, well, forget them. They ain't my family. I don't care. You don't know what they're going through. So why put your grief on somebody else's grief? So because of that, they got into a fight. Misunderstanding. Because both people are grieving. Where is the elder? Where's the teachers that could have prevented this? They just had a memorial. Yeah, that's all fine and dandy, but we have memorials for my best friend that got shot in the head in 2010. We have memorials for my cousin that just like died 2 weeks ago. We have memorials all the time, but nobody wants to speak up. Nobody wants to be that change. We have this divide. I can talk to my mom. I can talk to my grandmother. I can talk to their friends. I can talk to these prestigious lawyers from all kinds of places and different countries and everything. But if I'm not able to look within myself and speak to my youth, then why am I here? I have to be able to look my kids, and I call them my kids because even though I'm just a couple years older than them, they look up to me. And there's actually one child in particular, he told one of my best friends, she ended up getting pregnant. She's a young mother. And I'm not judging her. But he was like, I looked up to you as a role model, and now I can't because you're pregnant. Why would you say that? But then you have to look at where he's coming from. He's a young boy looking at a girl's situation. You don't know what she went through. You don't know what she's going through. But if he had his father, maybe he wouldn't have said something like that. Maybe it could have been totally different. Because, yes, she's a young mother, but she has her own place. She got her own car. She goes to San Francisco State. She's a junior, and she's pregnant. So don't downgrade. And I'm just saying to elders, don't downplay the youth. And the youth, we can't downplay our elders because I'm going to be honest, before my grandmother passed away, the day after I walked the stage, I never downplayed that woman. I would never disobey that woman. If she says what I say, yeah, yes, ma'am. Like, you know, I understand that. Any elder that comes up to me, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, no, ma'am, no, sir, is because of the fact that we're raised that way. Our young people these days, they're not raised that way. We are raised by 2 Chainz. We are raised by what's the other rapper named? Gucci Mane, Lil Wayne, Rick Ross, all them talking about, I got racks on racks on racks. Forget a racks on racks on racks. Where the books at?
Right, that's right.
I'm going to make my racks on racks by going to college. I'm going to be bigger than what this is. You want to sit up there and talk about, oh, well, I got dollar bills and I'm selling coke and dope. My mother was a crack fiend.
Right, come on.
But check this out, though. Because she was a crack fiend, she's proud that I graduated high school. I am the first, technically the second because of my grandmother, but I am the first person in my family to graduate high school, to move on to college. Yeah, I'm not married college, but hey, check this out. I have a scholarship in my bank account right now, and I got recommendations to go to meals where I want to go to. So I'm going to be somebody. But it's because of you guys. It's because of the panel that are able to tell me, look at what you're doing. And the actions that you do today are the actions that are going to play out tomorrow and how the youth come out. When I'm ready to have kids, they're going to be, yes ma'am, no sir. They're going to be just like that because that's how I was raised. And I want them to respect you guys. I don't want them to go up there and be like, no, I mean, you know, I'm just, you know, 2 Chainz, da, 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 da. Nobody want to hear that. Don't nobody want to hear that. I don't want to hear it. And I listen to 2 Chainz. Don't get me wrong. That's my dude. Okay? Okay? Don't, like, when a song come on and, you know, we all do it. But don't get me wrong. I listen to the Temptations, Stevie Wonder, too. Okay? I'll be like, hey, get it. But, you know. But just to bring it back, though. In my organization, I am the one that they go to when they want to speak to the parents. I was able to change Carson as a downplayed school that almost got cut off into one of the schools where one of my kids got to go to one of the top debate tournaments in the nation at Cal Berkeley. I was able to do that. My program director and executive director are looking at me like, whoa, what does she do? I'm real with them. I'm real with them. I tell them what's up. If you're messing up in class, I'm going to let you know. Okay? I'm not afraid to go to your track coach. I'm not afraid to go to your mother, your grandmother, your grandfather, whoever's taking care of you, your guardian. It could be your auntie, your baby daddy, I don't care. I'm going to go to that person and I'm going to ask, what's up with the child? Be real with me. I'm going to come to you at this level because I'm not above you and I'm not below you. We're here. And even though you're older than me, of course you got some wisdom on you. You're definitely up here. You got the utmost respect. But if I come to you humbly, we're here. We're here. That's all I got to say. Other than that, thank you so much.
All right, so I'm gonna keep it real short. One thing to say, just to kind of like go from what she said, you know, as far as us as the youth, I think people like you and I, like, you know what I'm saying, us being the ones that did kind of like make different decisions, we both need to kind of be that voice, be that reason, be that change, be that influence. I definitely believe personally that, you know, a person that's out there smoking weed, doing this, that, drugs, whole nines, popping mollies, all that, whatever. I could be just as cool as that guy without doing it. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely agree to be that change, to recognize that at a young age, and to be able to see those things. I can definitely live and operate in something that's more conscious, more direct, more different, to be a positive influence to bring that change. And with that being said, we are at the end of our discussion. We have about we can have about two to three people that want to make comments. The doors is open for the panelists to speak as well. So if anybody has questions, raise your hands and I will call you out. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and then you guys will stand up here, project your voice, talk, and then give a short discussion of what it is that you have to ask.
If you could form a line here, it'd be helpful. So one after the other.
Thank you all for your testimonies and for being real and reminding us to be spiritual. And so I have to say, Dr. Wade Nobles, he's leaving, I think. But one thing that he taught us, because I'm a part of the Black Psychologists, but I'm an educator. And one thing that he always reminded us is that we can be spiritual, we can be all those things, but we got to keep it real and concrete. And he would say things like, okay, so what do we do with the fact that this little young man stole his grandmama's money? So can you guys talk to us about those concrete solutions? Because everything, you know, sounds good, but what do we do for real?
And I'm gonna ask you to be 3 B's, be bright, be brief, be gone. So, short answers, please.
At the mic,
I just
please.
said I would,
Okay.
At the
there
mic,
needs to
please.
be a,
Thank you.
I'm sorry, accountability. I believe in accountability and discipline. So, I mean, I think that you create a dynamic where that person is accountable. You talk about the impact of stealing and being a thief, and then you give that young person an opportunity to actually earn something. You turn it into a lesson. But I think that, you know, I got whooped as a kid, and I don't think it's the worst thing ever. I do think we have to, again, stay in tune with some of our African or African American principles or practices. That's it.
Only have one thing. We can, like, if the person steals, we need to give the person an example of what happens when a person steals. And by giving them that example, you will instill into their minds that stealing is bad, you shouldn't do it. But not only giving them that example, give them a chance to earn that money. And not only, oh, you see that? All right, it's over now. Give them an example to earn the money and see what it feels like to earn the money and have self-confidence in yourself to earn the money yourself. So.
I'd just like to say a few things. I actually found out something that brought a question to my mind by hearing Aisha and the doctor speak. I encountered a situation where I thought I was caught with, I can do something about this, but then I didn't know how to approach it. And I'm talking about a young mother that was taking her kid to school. The kid was about 7. And they were both like on the plus side, plump side. And she was just coming out of the place, had bought him a smoothie. And I wanted to say, a smoothie? And you need to be going to the gym. So that's a situation where a lot of times, it bothered me a little bit because I'm saying, I missed an opportunity to, kind of impart a little corrective knowledge to this person. And Aisha says, well, she stops on the street if she sees something going on that ain't right. But the doctor said, no, he stays away from it because he ain't gonna get involved. So, I mean, yeah, okay. So I'm saying I missed an opportunity. So, but in the summary of this is that there's all type of opportunities out there for us, and the need is greater than we may realize it. And I think I can congratulate everybody here for their interest, because this is a situation where it's up to us, and I think the more we educate ourselves on how to deal with it, the better we can make it up for future generations. And that's all I'm gonna say. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Nicole. Thank you for letting me speak.
Speak loud.
Lainey is not a stranger to me. I don't really have any questions. I have answers. This program today pretty much answered all my questions. My mother brought me to Lainey as a child, and I used to go to daycare in the child care. And then we moved to Nevada, and she took me to the college in Nevada. But basically what I wanted to say is that I've always been connected to the African American community. That was my teaching as a child. However, I get distracted, but I want you to know that that is my upbringing, that is my heritage, that is my history. So if you want me to be a part of African community, I am always available to do that. You just don't see me doing that a lot, but I'm available to do that. Okay?
Does this project?
No, it doesn't work.
Okay, so I'll use my regular voice. Excuse me, I have a cold, so I sound very froggy. I just need to say, my name is Paula Marie Parker, and I've been thinking about this intergenerational issue for a long, long time. I'm almost 60. I don't have children, but I have nieces and nephews, and great nieces and great nephews. And so what I decided to do, because I do have some fear, yes, I do, when I go into certain parts of Oakland that I didn't grow up here, but I've lived here a long time, and yeah, my heart's in my throat sometimes when I'm going to a part of town where it's not in my comfort zone because stuff goes down. But one thing that I have found is I think people have to find their way to connect through the generations. I started studying storytelling about 1.5 years ago, and now I am out doing storytelling in public schools in Oakland. And I'm also telling in seniors' residences. And I want to say that yesterday, this will seem like a non sequitur, but bear with me, I was in the McDonald's inside Walmart at Hagenberger in Edgewood Road. And I was sitting there eating an ice cream cone when I turned and saw a whole cooler full of Red Bull. Red Bull. And I thought, I'm going to put that in a story. Because we all know now these energy drinks are killing our young people. But if I go up to a young person on the quad at Laney, which I have wanted to, who's holding Monster or Red Bull in one hand and some Cheetos that are red and orange in another, and I want to say that's just crack for your brain and your body, I'm afraid I'm going to get bitch slapped. I'm sorry. But if I put it in a story and then we have a dialogue after in a Q&A and I can get their input, I'm finding that's my personal way to use my background as a journalist and a singer and a storyteller, and then we can get a dialogue and that's why I want to hear people's stories too. Stories move people. So that's my little discovery. Thank you. Sorry for my voice.
I just want to acknowledge that we are running over. We're supposed to be ended at 2:30, and it's 2:34. So can you make it brief, please? Okay. Because I just got a text here that we need to wrap it up.
Okay. All right, so my name is Martrice. I'm a journalist, I'm a writer, I'm a poet, I'm an artist, I'm human. So one thing that I really wanted to touch on was absolutism. And that's a term I really don't hear people using, but it's like feeling like you have to identify with one or the other opposing forces. And I feel like even in this conversation, it was the youth versus elders. And it seems like a very confrontational method. So I want to ask you guys, like, how would you bring in fluidity? Because I feel like emotions, thoughts, opinions, everything like that has a lot of movement to it. Like whenever you feel something, that don't mean you have to absolutely hold on to that emotion. So, and how do we start being open-minded, not to conform with people, but using critical thinking skills when we are gathering all these ideas together to make informed decisions? And the last thing is I want to, like, for us to start talking about respectfully disagreeing. And that's a very uncommon thing that we're not being taught, is to respectfully disagree with each other. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Karen Davis, and I just wanted to say that I really appreciated this workshop. I really I took notes, and actually I've been posting on Facebook some of the comments that have been made here. I'd like to have seen a lot more people here. I think that from my point of view, I'm the parent of 5 children, 3 of which are sons, none of which have gone to prison. The youngest is a senior at Sonoma State University right now. And I have grandchildren that are growing up right now. And I believe that the key word, which the speaker just before me brought up, is respect. We have to deal with each other from a position of respect. Just because you're only 14 doesn't mean that you don't deserve my respect. Just because, you know, nearly 60 doesn't mean that I automatically do deserve your respect. And if we don't approach each other from a mutual position of respect, and as she said, agree to respectfully disagree, that's the only way communication comes about. Anytime I approach a conversation with my mind made up about what the resolution of that conversation is going to be, it's not a real conversation. It's just BS, and I might as well not approach the conversation. If my mind is not open to receive what you have to say, and if your mind is not open to receive what I have to say, then there's no point. There is no conversation. So that's what I'd like to put forth. And also I'd like to say I'm the president of the Toastmasters Club, and Toastmasters teaches everybody to communicate effectively, because communication is not optional. So I just want to, anybody, I'd like to pass out these and welcome to our club.
I'd like to thank all of you for being here. And we had two folk who are going to gather information. Raise your hand, one sister here and the other sister here. Touch base. And what I ask you to do is do something. We're not outnumbered, we're out-organized. And if we put our energy together, we make a difference. Now, I have something from the African American Male Achievement Program. If you're interested in volunteering, guest speaking, donating books, tickets, or gift cards, please feel free to contact our MDP specialist directly, or Executive Director Chris Chapman. And I'm going to give you an email number. Email address is Christopher Chapman, CHATMON, at osd.k12.ca.us. And I'll pass that on to my two sisters. And there are opportunities to volunteer at Oakland High School, McClymonds High, Edna Brewer Middle School, and I got a blank sheet here, and Oakland Tech, Fremont, Castlemont, Skyline, and Montero. So what I'm saying is there's a school in your neighborhood that gives you an opportunity to go in. And what we're trying to do is give you an opportunity where you don't have to do a lot of work, but show up. Because a lot of us don't want to take the time to make the time to do something. So we want to give you the opportunity to give the time. Do something to better our community, because it doesn't happen by itself. It's not the police who's going to change it, it's us in this room. So let's organize ourselves. And thank you so much. Thank you, Pamela.